Welcome to Code Savvy Presents, a podcast about computer science, technology, accessibility, and inclusion. In this episode of Code Savvy Presents, we will be having a discussion and look at Web3 and blockchain technologies, which can be a controversial subject. This episode is purely educational and should not be considered financial advisement. Please be sure to research, understand, and vet any potential involvement before proceeding with any investments. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm Chelsea Chung. And now I suppose sometimes I feel compelled to also give my other names, right? Like on Discord, I'm Chelly Beans, and on Twitter, I am the DGNS, and need to do some consolidating there. But I still go by Chelsea Chung, use my real name, and I left the corporate world. I was a corporate marketer for about 11 years, and I left that job in 2020, and I left to pursue entrepreneurship. At the time, I thought I wanted to be a spiritual life and business coach, and I left my job and realized that I needed to just take a break, that my nervous system needed to recalibrate. Obviously, it was in 2020, so we all know what kind of year that was for most people. And in the process, I found crypto, and it really started to take over my life. And I'm happy to go down that path further. But crypto and Web3 really became a huge passion of mine. It really, and I met my partner in that time as well, who happened to be a crypto investor and trader since 2016. And so the stars really aligned and brought us together, and we live a very, very heavy crypto lifestyle.
Okay. I'm curious how the spiritual life coach kind of transitioned into Web3. Like, is there a connection there, or did you kind of that's a separate passion of yours?
Yeah, I think at this point in your life, I suppose at every point in your life, you can look back and kind of see how the stars aligned, right? And how everything that just kind of comes together to bring you to where you are. I think one thing that I've always been passionate about is empowering individuals, right? Is people really finding their truth, finding their expression, finding their place in the world, and feeling like they belong, feeling like they have a purpose or something that's driving them. And so I really found that path for myself within Web3 and saw how that created so many opportunities for individuals as well to really live and express that truth. I think as well, there's kind of the sense of fun and magic, in Web3 that I think,
absolutely.
that can really come to life and through lore and branding, and there's so many ways to make it kind of this magical realm that we're all navigating together. So I also, one more piece on that, I've done a lot of personal development work. I've done a lot of group facilitation and things like that. And the skills that I've learned and really just how to communicate and hold space for people have been tremendously valuable, in Web3 as we come to, right.
Yeah. So how did you get started? What was kind of your first little gateway into blockchain and Web3?
Yeah. So I, like a lot of people, had started hearing about crypto, heard about Bitcoin, mostly around, I would say, the bull market of 2017, when Bitcoin was kind of reaching its new all-time high, kind of getting up to that 19,000 range. And, I had some people in my corporate environment, there was one woman whose husband, was into Bitcoin. And so we would have those water cooler conversations, right, about her husband being into Bitcoin. And, so I knew about it. I knew it was on the up and up. And then, of course, what happened? It crashed, right? Or the market cycle went into the bear market, and the price came back down. And for me, because I didn't really understand it or take the time to really look into it, it was kind of well, that was that,
Yep.
So it wasn't it really wasn't until 2020. And I actually went back and I looked up the date because I do this every few months. It's like I go back and I look at my like Bitcoin birthday because I always forget the exact day. But what happened, and it is related to my spiritual path and journey. And I'll try to tell this story quickly, but I, there was this man who reached out to me on Instagram, and we had a mutual connection. And he had reached out to me to see if I would be interested in participating in a virtual or a Zoom based cannabis breathwork journey with him.
Okay.
And it was for, for many different reasons. We decided, I decided to move forward. We aligned on it. Like I had this kind of medicine experience with this man over Zoom, and it was life changing. It was a really incredible experience, and he was not asking for any form of payment or anything like that. And
Yeah. He
I,
just needed some guidance and
yeah, it
somebody to be
just
there and experience it
exactly.
with them. Yeah.
He was doing this work in Mexico, and because of COVID, he wasn't able to perform them in person. So he was looking for, to experiment to see if would work online.
Yeah.
It did. And because I had such a meaningful journey, I asked him how I could pay him. And
Yeah.
he was resistant, like, no, it's okay. And I was like, no, really, I would like to send you something. And he said, well, if you really want, you can send me some Bitcoin. And I was like, all right, let's figure this out. He had suggested this one app that didn't work for me. And so I did a little research, and I remember I looked back on my messages, and I have a message to him that's like, oh, I found this thing called Coinbase. I found this thing, and I think I figured it out. I deposited some money into Coinbase, and he had told me in his message, he's like, yeah, if you want to send some Bitcoin, go ahead and buy a little for yourself while you're at it. So I bought I bought some Bitcoin. I figured out how to send some to him. And at this time, it was like so foreign to me. It's like, what? You want me to send it to this like random string of numbers and letters? Sent
Right.
him some Bitcoin, kept some in my own account. And this was May 24th of 2020 was my first Bitcoin purchase. And around that time, I had also started to I had downloaded Robinhood. I was investing in some stocks for the first time. I was
Yeah.
kind of starting to get more interested in taking more personal control over my finances and my long-term wealth building.
Yeah.
And so I was watching my stocks perform, and then I was watching my Bitcoin perform. And as you can imagine, May of 2020, my Bitcoin was heavily outperforming the stock. So I just started to
Right.
kind of ask myself, I was like, well, why am I putting money over here, when I could put it over here and see much greater returns? So that really started my journey.
Okay.
That winter, or let's say no, let's 2021. So it actually took a year of me kind of like dabbling and
Yeah.
trying things out. It wasn't until the winter of 2021 that I really was almost I kind of explain it like the spirit, like the universe was guiding me. Like I was being guided to like really heavily go into crypto without even fully understanding what that meant. But I kind of made this decision, like, okay, this really is the path for me.
It feels good.
It
Let's
feels
do it.
good.
Yep.
It felt so right. And that's when I met my current partner. And it just so
Okay.
happened again that he had been in crypto since 2016. And so he was like, he was my shepherd. He was totally able to be that person to help guide me through onboarding into this space more safely, the things to watch out for,
Right.
sitting next to me while I'm placing my first limit orders and things like that. And yeah, and then it just snowballed from there. The floodgates had opened.
That's so awesome. You mentioned kind of the taking responsibility and that personal um, control of your finances.
Yeah.
Is that, can you kind of, for maybe people that aren't as aware of what blockchain or Web3 is, can you kind of explain like some of the benefits of having that decentralized control and more personalized control. It's kind of the same vibe, but
Totally. And this is also, you had previously asked like, what aligned about being the spiritual life
yeah.
coach, right? And
Yep.
and so for me, there are so many elements here of personal empowerment and what a decentralized model really looks like.
Yeah.
Because I am all for empowering individuals, people taking greater control and responsibility over their lives, being able to make their own decisions. However, I also believe that it needs to tie back or be linked to the greater whole, right?
Yeah.
Like as a global societies, we tend to kind of sit on these opposite poles of, is it individualism or is it collectivism? And there really hasn't been a clear integration of both of those.
Yeah.
And I think a decentralized model really allows for that, right? We set up structures and systems where each individual or each node, whether it's a computer or a human,
Yep.
is really individually responsible for contributing to this greater structure. And there is no one centralized body, no bank, no government, no one person, no one group of people who are really overseeing and calling the shots. It's able to be dispersed and held up, at the edges by all of the individuals who choose to participate, who choose to align and agree to the standards and the rules, so to speak, that are put in place. And I think it's such a beautiful model for how we can also use that in society, right? How
Right.
we can become empowered individuals and contribute to like a greater collective whole, and really start to integrate this like polarization of one I versus we. So
Yeah.
I know that's maybe a little abstract,
No,
but
it's great. It's great. And it's yeah, those are some of the benefits of doing things that way. It's a collective, it's a collective empowerment as
yeah, and
well.
we're seeing so many new models and structures pop up trying to figure this out, right? So, like the
Right.
rise of DAOs, for example, or decentralized autonomous organizations, like those are still very much in their infancy, but it is a new model of collective empowerment and group decision making and voting and alignment and really, I think representing what democracy has always kind of set out to be, and now
Right.
maybe we actually have the technology to help facilitate that in a more true way.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of your favorite projects that you either engage with or create for in Web3? Like what are some of your go-tos?
Yeah, that's such a tough question to answer because I still feel like I am in a sponge phase. So
Yeah.
also to go back to kind of timeline, right? While I've been in crypto since 2020, my partner and I both were very resistant to entering NFTs, right? To
Yeah.
entering kind of like this broader world. And it wasn't until February of 2022, so this past February, that I finally was like, I'm doing it. You don't have
Just
to come
jump.
with me. Just jump. I'm
Yeah,
jumping in.
yeah.
I'm making my first purchases. And unfortunately, what I have come to learn is that most people, when they first join the space, overinvest in a project that they don't really understand. It's kind of like it's a rite of passage almost. So unfortunately, learn the hard way early on, which I would love for fewer people to have to learn the hard way. But
Right.
it's kind of like being a teenager in that way. But I'm still very much in sponge mode. However, there certainly are projects that have caught my eye that I've kind of been following, and I think mostly it comes from my past experience. So I mentioned my corporate career. I was in marketing and branding, for the entirety of my career in different ways and facets. But
Yeah.
branding has always been really, really important to me. And I'm seeing the importance of brand building, of story building, of really creating containers for people to really journey within. Uh, projects in the Web3 space, they're more than just, especially when we talk about NFTs specifically, it's
Yeah.
so much more than just, JPEGs.
Right.
There is so much that ties a community together, and so much that is required to keep people engaged and excited and loyal to a project. And so a few projects that I think do that really well. There's one that is called 10KTF. Now, I am currently not an investor in 10KTF, although I very much have been watching it and would like to be, because I know the community behind it is so passionate. There's a whole story, there's a whole experience built around this main character of Wagmi-san, who lives in Neo Tokyo, and he is this merchant. And depending on the NFTs that you own, that community, you get airdrop different things to essentially build your own clothing that you can then brand with other NFTs of affiliated projects, whether that's Moonbirds or World of Women or Bored Ape Yacht Club. Right, you can have these like branded wearables that of course have plenty of room for extensions in the real world. But what I think they do so well is they do create this ongoing story, right? They drop new parts of the storyline, I think like every Thursday. And so people really
Okay.
look forward to seeing what's next, and it keeps people very much engaged. Another project that I see doing this extremely well is called The Possessed. I think their mint is coming up later this month, but they've created this whole brand experience around this story of this lab that is running experiments, and there's these human test subjects, and things have gone wrong, and now these test subjects are becoming possessed, right? And everything from the way the Discord is set up to the way that their tweets are written to their teaser content and videos is all very cohesively branded and aligned to this main story. And so I think projects that do that really well and immerse their community members in this story, it's a whole new level of cooperative, immersive story engagement, right? It's so fun, and we get to choose which of those storylines really resonate with us and that are fun for us. So those are two projects. One that I do want to call out, because my partner and I use it every single day, is a move to earn app called Stepin. It totally gamifies walking outside, running outside. And there is what I like to call a beautifully complex white paper that
Okay.
kind of outlines the different mechanics of the shoes that you own. And they have different like gem sockets that you can unlock. And there's walkers and joggers and trainers and runners, and like all these different levels of shoes. You can mint new shoes, you can breed shoes, but essentially it's you earn for walking. You have a certain amount of energy that you can use a day, and while the tokenization of it has become a little, it's still finding its footing, right? There's been a lot of
Yeah.
variability in the value of the token, very, very high at one point, and has since come down and equalized a little bit, leveled out. It works. Like, it's motivating. My partner and I go on multiple walks a day. My partner has more energy, has more shoes than I do, so he would literally, like, it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning and he'll be like, oh, I gotta go on my walk. And he'll go outside and he'll get his walk in. And yeah, so it's been really cool to watch the way that the value economy is really coming into play, and how we can really start being rewarded more consistently for our actions.
I love that. I love all three of those projects that you mentioned. The Possessed and the 10 KTF, is that what it
Mhm.
is?
Yeah.
Those both, I'm probably dating myself, but when I was young, we had choose your own adventures, right? Like the
Yeah.
books where you would choose which path you'd go on. And it's like, this is like that, but like to the whole new level.
Oh,
So
definitely.
that's
Yeah.
really awesome. So what are some of the ways that people can get involved with Web3? Like, if somebody's brand new and they don't know where to start, what would you suggest?
Yeah. So one thing I love about this space is, like, there is boundless opportunity. I always compare it to the Wild West, but it's such a fitting analogy because it's like this wide open, vast expanse space of like opportunity and also like danger and challenge, right? Like it's not without obstacles. However, it's a space that everyone is still so new in navigating that it's very real when I say like there are no experts. There are
Right.
maybe a lot of established people who have come from Web 2. There are people who have big tech companies behind their names and things like that. But I mean, we're all figuring this out together, and it really doesn't take much to be seen and recognized in this space if you are only willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
There is such a need for so many skills, whether that's people skills and just moderation and management of community, whether that's again marketing, branding, vision, copywriting, artistic expression, or if it's dev and development and systems thinking or systems architecture, things like that. I mean, there's literally there, if you are passionate about Web3, like there is a space for you. So understand what your skills are, understand what you can contribute to this space, and start there. You can also start small. You don't have to, you don't have to just like all of a sudden launch your own project. I mean, you absolutely can, but you can get into a community and start demonstrating value and catch the attention of projects very quickly. It didn't take much for me to start collaborating with project owners across different communities just by saying like, hey, these are some of the skill sets I can offer. I would love to contribute what I can. Like, let's start there and see how this grows. And even because of that, I have been officially brought on to a project that I really love. I'm super excited about, and I'm able to lend so many of my previous skills in helping this project be successful in its new evolution. So
That's
if you're
awesome.
passionate, put yourself out there.
That is awesome. What, just kind of before we wrap up, what are the projects that you're engaged with? Do you want to promote anything? What do we need to know about that you're working on?
Yeah, so I have officially joined the team of a project called Sacred Skulls. It's a project that has been around since January of this year. So in NFT speak, that's actually it's been around for a minute.
You're right.
Yep. Um, However, the project really needed to kind of find its footing. It actually lacked kind of that cohesive brand story and experience that we were talking about. And
Yeah.
so, and I think the founders really recognize that the art is so incredible for this project. It has a really great foundation, a really incredible community base. And, there was a recognition that it just needed to be taken to the next level. And so to be able to come in and explain how this kind of branded story experience could really help solidify, bring the community together and keep people engaged, especially in this bear market, right? Whenever things are down, it's like people just don't even want to look at it. It's like
Well, and it also creates an opportunity for you to just put your head down and create, right?
it
Like
is
some of
the
the best
best.
creation
Yes.
comes out of bad
Yes.
times. So,
It is the time to
yeah.
create. Yes. And so that is another great piece of advice to just kind of like leave people with is like now, like the time is seriously now. There is no better time to get involved, to jump right in, to start working on your ideas. Now is the perfect time to build, to collaborate, and and to set a solid foundation for when the market does pick back up. So that's what we're doing over at Sacred Skulls. We are essentially overhauling the brand, and today is actually our first teaser goes out of the new
Nice.
direction. So we are really hoping to have our new direction, out into the public by the time that NFT New York hits, which is just around the corner.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that. What is NFT New York?
Yeah, so there are There are several NFT conferences that that take place around the world, really, but NFT New York seems to be one of the largest kind of gathering of people all over the world who are interested and passionate about the NFT space. I mean, it's almost like a Web3 takeover of New York City.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's June 21st through the 23rd, I believe, but kind of that entire week, and also the weekends that are bookending it are just jam packed with Web3 NFT project speakers. So there's the conference itself, which has, I think like over 1,000 speakers, something like that.
Wow.
But then, tons and hundreds of projects have side events and things that they're, other projects that they're collaborating with. And so literally for like 10 days straight, it's just back to back, jam packed with all of these, opportunities. And, you can see I'm also rocking my World of Women t-shirt
Yes.
here. Also just came off the heels of VCon, right?
Yep. Yep.
Here in Minneapolis. And I was able to connect so deeply with the World of Women community. I'm a holder of that project, and it was amazing. It was so cool to like bring it into real life, and to actually make those human connections and to meet people on the project. And so I cannot wait to take that, to the next step and meet, even more thousands of people from all over the world who are just can't get enough of this space.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your passion and your stories and
Yeah,
letting us have kind of a view into the world of Web3 today. I
of
really
course.
appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Leslie, how can people get in touch with you if I know you mentioned a couple of your handles at the beginning, but why don't you give them those to us again?
Yeah, so Twitter is probably right. So like before it used to all be Instagram, and now my Web3 transition, it's so Twitter based. So
Okay.
my handle on Twitter is at the DGenS, DGenS being DEGENESSE. So connect with me on Twitter, hit me up, send me a message. Would love to collaborate with you. Check out the Sacred Skulls NFT project. Join our Discord. Come say hi. Again, I'm Chelly Beans, number 4719 on Discord. So would be happy to connect with you there as well.
Cool. Thank you so much again. And Code Savvy Presents is produced by Code Savvy, a 501c3 nonprofit organization committed to making computer science accessible. Visit us at www.codesavvy.org.